Cheers, queers! Today on the Big Gay Agenda, we are talking to the one and only Dom Provost-Chalkley, the writer, director, actor, songwriter, all of the things for the short film Magic, which is currently fundraising to turn the short into a feature film. So welcome to the podcast, Dom.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. What a lovely intro.
We are super, super excited to have you here today and to talk about this project because it's very exciting. So first and foremost, what inspired you to write and direct Magic?
Great question. So I have been working on the feature film for 3 years. So a producer sent me an email out of the blue asking me if I'd ever thought about writing and or directing a film. I had never. This was not on the agenda. But it just so happened that it timed out that I had been exploring storytelling a little bit over the course of that week and like editing someone else's script. So I thought, you know what, give it a go, say yes, figure it out later. And so I've been developing a feature film for the past 3 years. So what you see with Magic is a sneak peek at some of the themes and the energy of what it is that I've been working on. So when it comes to the short, basically, I had a few requirements that I needed to work with. So I knew it needed to be filmed in London because the contacts that we had access to were all based in London. So I kind of pieced it together by going, okay, well, I've got my 2 main characters that I've been developing for a few years. How about we start with that and we make them meet in London for one night only? I quite liked the concept of them sort of like crossing paths. I don't know if either of you have ever had that experience where you meet someone, but it's like just for a day. But I seem to have had loads of those experiences in my life, which probably is like no surprise because I'm that kind of person that just ends up having these weird and wonderful, magical moments with people. But it felt like an opportunity to explore that and the 2 characters within that context. And so then I started thinking about things that could happen in London. And I had a memory of my own experience when I was on a date in London, where I had back in the day, I used to do those fancy parties where you had to go around with champagne and like canapes and stuff. And at the end of the evening, I used to bring Tupperware boxes and fill up with all of the food that people hadn't eaten because I didn't want it to go to waste. And also it was all this like fancy food. So I'd filled up my Tupperware boxes and I was off to go meet someone. And I was like, mate, look, we've got like all of this food. I had like half a bottle of wine. I was like ready to go. And so we ended up going down by the Thames and then having the experience of the tide coming in and us being stuck and not being able to go out.
No way.
And it was one of the funniest moments that, I had in London. So I was like, I wanted there to be comedy elements in it. That's a huge part of the feature film. It's like, I think comedy is an amazing way to pass deeper messages. So I thought that just is a recipe for some hilarity. And then it just all started to make sense. Like Jo could lose her phone as a result of the tide, which would then help me to feed in some of the themes that I've been exploring in the feature. And so it kind of wrote itself from there.
I love that. There's one memory just like, it's like, everything falls into place. Like, that's so perfect.
I think it's really important to draw from your own experience in storytelling. And I have really learned that through the process of making this film, because if you're writing from a place of like experience, then it's going to be authentic. There's going to be authenticity that comes into it. If you're trying too hard to be doing something that isn't necessarily your story to tell, I think that gets felt. So, draw from the catalogue of hilarious moments that I seem to have had in my life.
Always use what you know. I can't believe that that was true.
Yes,
That's
it's
hilarious.
amazing. It really is.
And it was funny because I tried to find the exact same spot, but it's like it's disappeared. And I walked
no.
that South Bank, I don't know how many times, trying to find this spot. And I'm like, did I dream this thing? Because I couldn't find the exact same spot. Because the spot that I was in, there were no stairs, there was no getting out.
No.
We had to like Superman, like Spider-Man up the wall, and I was like hanging on to this human who was like, literally, I was like swinging in hysterics, laughing. It was quite the scene, but I couldn't find the same place. So hilarious.
That is really funny. I'm glad you're okay. It's really funny, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
You could tell that you're such a great storyteller because that was the most funniest way to tell that story.
Yes.
Oh, bless you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So logistically with the contacts, it made sense to put this story in London. Is there any other benefits that you got from setting this film in London?
You know, I think that setting it in the night in London, I mean, logistically, was like quite a feat for a first time director. I didn't realize the reality. If you write a story that's set in the night, you have to do night shoots. There's all sorts of things that you have to consider. And I had like a moving bus. I had like all of the things. I was a tide that I was working with, all of the things. So it was quite a, it was like a crash course, you know, in filmmaking. And I went in the deep end in a way. And I think that being in London with the intense energy of the city at night, in a way, I feel like if I can do it there, I can do it, like the feature will feel a lot calmer because there's a lot more like nature and like not so much busyness that London brings. But there's a certain magic that came from the night of being in London at the same time that I think we would have missed if we'd done it anywhere else.
What a well play into the title. So magical.
I feel like all I say when I talk about it is just magical. But it's like, that's what it feels like.
That's amazing. It should feel like magic.
Yeah. The amount of serendipities and magical alignments, like truly bizarre alignments that have happened as a result of this project, I'm losing count. And so I guess that's just part of the essence of this project. Yeah.
Yes, when art imitates real life.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so speaking of magical elements to the story, so this story also contains several original songs, at least the short film so far. So how did you approach writing, composing the original songs for the short film?
So that was actually a big piece to when Louise reached out to ask if I had ever thought about writing a film. She had said that she wanted to write a film with music. So that was a request. And she knew that I was a songwriter and that I had explored that a little bit in the public, not much at that point. But she was kind of curious to know if there would be any interest from my side in making a film with music. And so that was a big driver for me because I've been writing music since I was 15, like in my bedroom, just behind closed doors. And it's really the form of expression that feels like the most vulnerable for me, and yet the thing that actually lights me up the most in many ways, which often is the case, I think, for people that are really connected to a form of creativity. Sometimes it can feel like also just as vulnerable and scary. So I felt like it was a great opportunity to put my music into a film, have a vehicle to get my music out there and actually push me to get some of those songs over the line. And so in the short, there was one song that was, the song at the end was was actually originally written for the feature, but we decided to put it in the short. Because it just felt like it just fit really well with, like, when Taylor's, you know, on the bus driving off, and it just felt like it brought that really filmic kind of energy. But all of the other songs, just checking to see if I'm lying. Actually, no, the beginning song that Taylor writes also was a song that was written for it. But the other two that were sandwiched in between are like songs from my catalogue of songs that I have in the past. So it was more about looking at the songs that I've written and figuring out which ones fit, which ones aligned. And then I revisited them and changed some of the lyrics to make it fit even better, which was such a fun process. Like, if you end up listening to the song that plays behind Joe and Magic when they first meet in that awkward bar scene, such a dork, but all of the lyrics are like timed exactly to the story that's going on. Like, there's one bit where it goes, how does it go? I've forgotten the first lyric, but afterwards it goes, "Fall into my stars," and Joe has all these stars on her face, and when they look round, it's literally like, "Fall into your stars." So it's just timed like so intentionally to mirror the energy of the scene, and I really geek out about that. Like, I could just do that forever. Like, I'm so fascinated about how music really sets the tone in TV and film, and how if you have a good soundtrack, it elevates a project so much. Like with Winona, some of the tracks in Winona are so good, you know, and so well placed, or like anything, that it just gives such an extra layer to the piece. So yeah, I like working on that stuff, and I'm excited to continue playing with that in the feature.
I want to go rewatch that scene again, because, like, damn, that's so good. I love that attention to detail. That's so perfect.
Yeah.
But
So
you're right. Music definitely, it changes everything, because you could
Yes.
put like a thriller music behind something emotional and be like, oh my gosh, something bad's about to happen.
Yeah. Completely. It just
it's
totally
insane.
changes everything. As you say, it changes the whole energy. And having both of those hats to play with, you can really like work the two together and marry them so that they are one in a way, and that feels really exciting. Mm-hmm.
So you keep mentioning the feature. Was the feature always the plan, and then the short film just came as like a pilot?
Yeah, kind of. So the feature was always the plan, and we had talked about who was going to direct the feature, because I'd never directed before. So I was like, I can't direct a feature film. Like, that's wild to think that how am I going to do that? And then Louise started talking about, well, how about if we do a short film and you give it a go and see if you like it, and if you enjoy the process of directing, then you can think about doing the feature. And it will also be an opportunity to give people a taster of what it is that you're doing. We can show it to places so that we can fundraise. We can show it to people so that they can get excited about the feature. And then also, you know, try to, show it to people for grants, and, you know, just the help people understand what it is that's in my brain, and get it out into some sort of physical form to be able to fuel the next step. And it was a really great idea, because I realized through doing it that I actually really enjoy directing, and in a way it feels like the natural next step, because you imagine it all in your head as you're writing it. And if I had handed that over, it would be a completely different project. And that would also be cool to see how somebody else interprets it, but because it's so close to my heart and there's so many personal elements with the music and how I want the music to tie in, it does kind of feel like it makes sense to pluck up the courage to do something new and give it a go.
This project's your baby. Like, this is
Yeah.
all you. And I
Yeah.
mean, you've had help, but like, this is your everything in your brain, and it's really cool to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it very much feels like that. It's like a little baby, little sparkly baby, queer sparkly
A
baby.
magical baby.
Magical.
Yeah.
So the short film gives us a glimpse into the lives of Magic and Joe. How will the story and characters evolve in like the feature version? Like, are there any themes or arcs you're eager to explore?
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so much that you can tell in 15 minutes. You know, it's a real challenge to be able to introduce characters, have action happen, you feel invested in the characters, and also, you know, that people feel something in such a short time without much context. So I'm really excited for people to, and for us to explore their backstories, why they are the way they are, where magic is going. You know, they say that they're going to Ireland. We get these like little glimpses at things that we explore in the feature, but there's so many unanswered questions, I feel like, in the short, which I don't mind that in cinema. I think that's quite cool, but some people find it frustrating. Like, I want to know where these people are going and what you know, what they're all about. And I think that we get the opportunity to do that in the feature. So I'm looking forward to that and really fleshing out the complexities, because if there's one thing that I like, is exploring sort of the messy nature of life and human beings and the complexities. I feel like it's been such a blessing to be a part of Winona in my career and be able to like exist in a world where you have really multifaceted characters that have so many different layers and depths. And I think that that's something that I feel really passionate about, is that like we all have the light and the dark. Like we all have trigger points. We all have like things that we've experienced that lead us to act in certain ways and to protect in certain ways and to love in certain ways. And it feels like in a feature film, you can really dig into those layers and have a lot more fun with it.
I'm excited to see what else comes from this story, because just everything you're describing is just I do want to know more about the characters in general and like how where they're going. I don't mind like the questions as well, but it's just always like I would love more. I always want more.
Totally. Of course. And that's the idea too, right? Is that with this short, we want to feel like, oh, we want to see those characters back together again. We want to understand more about Jo and where she's at in her life. And I think she's at a really interesting time in her life where she's unaware of some things, but she's also open. Like there's an opening that we see at the end of the short that like she has a little mini awakening at the end because of the fact that she's not on her phone and all the synchronicities that happen. There's an opening, and then where we meet her in the feature, she really goes on such an amazing journey of exploration of herself as a result. And yeah, that feels really juicy.
Yeah. That's really, really exciting. And speaking of Jo, this segues into our next question nicely. Mm-hmm. So Taylor Hickson was cast to play Jo in the short. How did working with Taylor influence the development of Jo and like the dynamic of the film overall?
Taylor brought so much likability to the role, and that was something that I knew we needed, but I didn't realize how much we needed it until Taylor embodied Jo, because I think like Jo is so relatable, right? Like so many people, I think it's more common to be addicted to your phone and to social media and to all of the tech that is involved in our lives than not being addicted to it, to be honest. So like I have been both Joe and Magic. So like I understand, I've written Joe from a very real place of understanding, because that was 100% me. And if you have any sort of addictive personality or any sort of like need to numb through things, like you have a slot machine literally like at the end of your hand. And so it is very understandable. However, I think you could also get really annoyed at Joe as a character sometimes. Like, I think she could be quite triggering and like a little bit frustrating. But Taylor just has this like sweet innocence about her, that, and so much likability and kindness, that you just fall in love with Joe. You know, it's just impossible to not fall in love with her. So that was just incredible. And I didn't even realize the level that we needed it until I met Taylor. I was like, oh, okay, she's got this sparkle in her eyes that's just so apparent and so helpful. And you kind of like mesmerized by her. And then also, what I really loved about working with Taylor is that we had, once she got cast, we had a couple of voice notes back and forth about Joe and about like how she saw the character. And as an actor director, I knew it was really important to me to give her the opportunity to build the character, because it's such a big part of the process of working up to playing a character. Like, you want to be able to form who she is. Like, there's obviously there's the pieces that are in the writing, but then there's all of this creative freedom of developing the nuances and thinking about her backstory and all of that. That's all part of the fun. So I really gave her a lot of creative freedom to go like, what do you think Joe would wear? What do you think how would she do her makeup? Like, how do you picture her? And what I got back from Taylor was so like rich, and so like she loved it just as much as I did. So she was sending like Pinterest boards of like, you know, the makeup ideas that she had, and like she would send screenshots of like some of the people, like the singers and the people that maybe Joe looked up to. And it was like, I was just in like, yay, okay, I have an actor that like likes this stuff as much as I do. This is such a great match, and we can just bounce off each other to find that like play and to really build that character together. So it was just a joy and a pleasure, and I can't wait to do it again and keep building on it, because we only had like a few days before we were filming, so it was so quick. And then she came over and she was jet lagged, and we were doing night shoots, so it was fine. But it was all like, hey, I've only just met you and this is crazy. And yet here we are, and let's go into this scene. And it was my first time directing, so it all just felt like a massive whirlwind. So I'm looking forward to having a bit more like of a calm process beforehand to get us up to scratch for the feature. But it was a joy to bounce off her and to develop the character together. And and Joe became someone that I hadn't imagined, but once she added her magic to it, when she had added her special essence to it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like, this is absolutely who Joe is. And that's such a pleasant surprise that I wouldn't have expected.
That's so fun.
Right? The dynamic between you and Taylor came across so well on screen. It was just a joy to watch you both act opposite of each other.
That was fun.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's hard to tell when you're in it whether it's working, because you're in it, so you're just trying to be as present as possible. But it was a nice surprise afterwards where I was like, oh no, we have like a really kind of cute little dynamic going on. which was fun.
What was the casting like? Like, did you pick Taylor? Did Taylor, like, you mentioned auditioning. So, like, what was that process?
Yeah. So, you know, it was an interesting one. Casting is such an interesting process. One of the things that I felt really passionate about at the beginning was casting a queer actor or an ally, but my first kind of intention was to cast a queer actor, and it was like, I don't know, it wasn't quite working, it wasn't quite aligning. I didn't find the person that was supposed to play Joe. And then the casting director brought Taylor to me, and I was like, okay. And then when I watched her talk about her experience of playing a queer character in Motherland, and the way she spoke about it, I was like, it resonated so deeply for my experience of playing Waverly, and I just felt like she got it on such a, like, in such a deep way, that it shifted my perspective. And I also started realizing that it's almost just as important to have like a really strong ally, like playing a queer character, than it is. So we ended up, I met with, and then I saw Taylor's stuff, and I was like, she's phenomenal. And then I was like, let's put an offer out and see if she would be interested in it. And straight away she read it and was like, yes. And I was like, what? Really? She wants to do it? Like, I was so surprised at how quickly it went. And I think it really just shows you that when something is meant to be, and there's like, it's in alignment, it happens with so much ease. And when it's not, you can like push against something or try to make something work and it not work. And then when it's like the door opens, it's like, okay, great. And then it was just like, and the minute that I saw her, it was like, oh, it was always supposed to be Taylor. It was absolutely always supposed to be her. I can't imagine anyone else playing Joe. And as you know, she's such a sweet person, and she's such a brilliant actress, and she brings something really unique, I think, to the project that I feel so grateful for.
Selfishly, as a fan of both of your previous, like both of you and Taylor's previous projects, I was so excited to see that you were both in this film together, because it's just like worlds colliding.
Yeah.
That's magic.
Yeah.
Right? Totally. I didn't realize how much would come as a result of fandoms colliding. Like, because they also have crossover fandoms, like people that like Winona tend to like Motherland, it just added a whole extra layer. Yeah, it's the crossover we never knew we needed.
Right.
You know? It's totally like, what a cool thing to be able to experience that and have like fans of Motherland and fans of Earp also experience that. Mind-blowing.
Truly is. What's also mind-blowing is the amount of jobs that you took on this project.
I know.
What was it like to act in a story that you also wrote and directed, not to mention writing the songs too?
Yeah.
Like,
it was a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine trying to direct yourself while you're acting in the scene.
Yeah. It was wild. It was such an interesting experience, to say the least. It was a lot. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of hats, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself too, you know, through doing that. I was like, okay. It was terrifying, the idea of like acting in it and also directing it, because I hadn't done the directing piece yet, and I was like, oh, how am I going to be able to switch between the two? But then at the same time, there was once I realized that I was able to do it, and then there was also kind of a flip of it being like, okay, you can do this, you know, we can be our own worst enemies in telling ourselves that we can't do something. And we've all been there, where we tell ourselves that we can't do something, and you've got that demon in your head that's just trying to beat you down and tell you that you're not able and that you're not good enough and you won't be able to do it. And then when you break through that and you realize, oh no, I actually did, there's a sort of a sense of like, oh, well, if I really genuinely thought that I couldn't do this and I've just done it, it's proof that, you know, anything is possible in a way. Yeah, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it can be empowering in a way when you're like, ah,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like those defining moments where you go,
Yeah.
oh, bloody hell, you just did that. Wow, okay, fair play. Like, wouldn't have ever thought.
This is a little off topic, but like I completely understand that. I produced a documentary, short documentary by myself for my senior project.
Wow.
And I did literally everything, including starring in it and editing and marketing. It was insane. So like just props to you.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Like, it's a lot.
What's the documentary about? Am I allowed to ask?
It follows me trying to find out the truth about why I became homeless as a child and how it has affected me since.
That sounds incredible. I would love to see that.
It's actually free on YouTube because I wanted it to be accessible to people.
Okay, maybe you should tell your audience where they can go and watch this if they're interested.
It's called Homeless Chronicles, and it's on you. It's also on Amazon, but again, I wanted it to be accessible, and they didn't allow you to have it for free for everybody. So I put it on YouTube.
That's wonderful. I will definitely check it out. But yeah, such a big feat, isn't it? To wear so many hats and to do something you've never done before. Any first can feel so intense because you just have never done it before, and you have to break through so many personal blocks and barriers. Yeah.
So you've described magic as a, quote, whimsical dream and a crash course in filmmaking, as you kind of just explained.
Yeah.
What were some of the most surprising lessons you learned while directing your first short film? Like you said, it was a crash course, so there's a lot there.
Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, so many things. So many things. I think like one thing that I learned that now looking back makes a lot of sense, but I didn't necessarily go into it thinking that, is that really directing is a lot about like building relationships and like building trust within your collaborations. And I'm really passionate about creating safe spaces and safe environments. So I realized how much that meant to me personally, to really make everyone feel, or do my best to make the people that I was collaborating with feel really valued, and that we're all part of a team. You know, every single puzzle piece, every single role is needed in order for it to work. And I think as a result of my own personal experience earlier on in my career, where I really went into like the belly of the beast in many ways, in sort of the capitalist, like making something for like intense profit. I very much learned firsthand, or experienced firsthand, how destructive that can be to people. And so I think I discovered through making this project like how much I care about doing things differently, right from the base, right from the foundation, in the way that we relate to each other, in even under stress and under pressure, and even in those moments where we need to get the shot and we need to get this and whatever. I feel like the type of director I want to be and that I strive to be will always be one that leads from a place of kindness and seeing the person behind the role. And I think I discovered that it's a little bit of my like mission, you know. If I'm going to be a part of the film industry in any way, then I want to encourage people to like really create safe environments and not just always put business first, but think about our humanity, because so much of what I'm exploring in those stories is about connection and community and change. And so how do we create that in the environment right from the get-go?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, everything you're saying sounds like the film also, like, so I love that. That's really smart.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's not always easy, but it's good. It just was like, it's interesting being like going into the business from this angle. I've only ever seen it from the acting angle, so you see a different thing, right? When you are right from the beginning, like the actors come in really late actually in the process of developing a film. So all of that build up, the foundation that you're creating, how can you set sort of the values and the things that are in the film in order to create that throughout?
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're in, like, as you know, you wore many hats in this film. Obviously, it's like you're also in like a team building kind of role, also and that sounds very much like how to get the team to be cohesive by making them feel safe will ultimately, hopefully, lead to a better project, especially when you run up to hiccups and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. If you're able to build some sort of trust, so that you know that we're all there to lift each other up.
Yeah,
that's gonna create an environment where we all feel seen and heard and valued, and therefore, as you say, as a result, the project, you'll feel it in the project.
Yes.
You know, but it will also just be a lot more enjoyable for everyone. And what is the point of doing something if you're not trying to find the joy in it? You know,
Yeah.
it's way too much stress and horrors in the outside world. How can we find more like care and compassion, period, like everywhere?
Yeah,
you know?
literally.
Yeah.
Just in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any behind the scenes stories or moments that stand out from your time making magic?
My goodness, how long have you got?
As long as you want to give us.
Thanks.
There's like so many things that, it just felt like a whirlwind of a moment. Like, you know, the actual filming only was 3 days, as I said. So, you know, you're like, you build up to doing something and then you have 3 days to get it all. And as I mentioned earlier, I really set myself up with like some big things to do for a first time. Like working with the tides was like a real, you know, thing. We considered like superimposing the water in so that we could, you know, like CGI in the water so that we didn't have to work with the tides, because the tides are actually really unpredictable. Like, as in they're predictable, but I mean, like, they come in quick and then you don't have much time. You have to shoot things. And then through that process, I was like, look, I think we have to just work with the tides. And what a lesson and a theme of the short is that nature, like, we need to be more in touch with the natural cycles of the earth and be less, you know, we are taught this, we are fed the idea that, like, we need more tech, more, we need to be more connected to the devices and more engaged in the online world, which is in service of like a bunch of billionaires that are creating these things to take as much of our attention as possible so that they can sell as many ads as they can and make as much money. And so it benefits them to say, okay, yeah, let's, you know, get people really hooked to their devices. But one of the themes is like, we also need to be in connection with like the natural cycles of the earth, and keep our feet planted on here. It's awesome that we have these amazing tech stuff that there's such great tools, and like, look at us now, we're able to connect from all different places in the world and do this awesome thing and bring such big gay energy, and it's wonderful. And there's also a need to like be in connection to our natural world, and so that we can hear what she is literally screaming at the moment as we kind of head into climate catastrophe. You know, it's like, then we need to be more just as connected down here as we are up there. So I was like, we're gonna have to just go with it, like, let's do it. So all of that you see with Taylor and I just pissing ourselves laughing was so real. Like it was like we had 2 shots to get that jumping over thing with the water before it came up, and then it was going to be dangerous for us to be there, you know. So I'm like, welcome to England, Taylor, are you game? Like, are you game to do this? And she's like 100%, like, don't worry about me. And I'm like, okay. I am a little bit, but like, thank you for being so game. And I was like, how do you feel about going through the thing? She was like, I love it. She genuinely got stuck. Like, that's everything you see is like totally real. So like, one of my memories that stands out was just the like hilarity and madness of like not having much space for error and just having to go for it. And I think that's what we did, and that's what you really feel in that. Like, she's literally pissing herself, I'm literally pissing myself, but also trying to stay in character to be like, what are you doing? Like, and what we captured as a result was like, I think pretty awesome and so fun. And then it was like, oh well, good job we got it, because now we can't see the ground anymore, and it was completely like in the tide. And I just think that was a really one of those moments that we just like, I got such wet feet. I had, honestly, like, I ended up running through, my trainers were completely soaked. I had wet feet for the entire, like, until 5 a.m. because we continued shooting that night until 5 a.m. with these soggy feet. But it was totally worth it because it was just so ridiculous and hilarious. There was also another moment where on the bus at the end, when she sees the magic sign go past and then brings her head back, it just so happened that at the shot that we used, when she looked around and she comes back, and then afterwards she was like, oh my god, literally at the time that she did it, because obviously the magic piece was put in post, like that's not there for the filming, and we're just circling around London on this bus route that we've had to set for ourselves, and we just do it a bunch of times. It just so happened that when she looked around on the time that the winning shot, she sees "You belong here" written in pink writing, and was literally like, oh my god, like, so one of those magical moments that you cannot write, that she literally turns her head and it says "You belong here" in pink writing. I mean, you can't write that shit, you know. It's like, it's too perfect. And just seeing her kind of, just her sort of awakening after that, like, with so many nods throughout the whole process, that like we were absolutely where we were supposed to be. And I could go on and on and on about all the things that happened, but those are 2 little tidbits.
Well, we love to hear as much as you want to tell us, because it really does seem magical. That is a magic moment,
you know, like, isn't that one of those things that I'll just remember that forever. I'll remember Taylor's face, because I was looking at the monitor at the back of the bus. You know, we're all there trying to hide from the camera. And I just, like, it was so real. The, like, look of, like, what the hell just happened? That you can't recreate that kind of serendipity to capture what we captured. And then afterwards the break, and then Taylor just being like screaming in the bus going, oh my god, like, you know. And like when she got into her cab she got off the plane and got into her cab and Magic Radio was playing and she was just like, okay. So she like already was like, I guess I'm supposed to be doing this.
Aww.
And then, you know, like there was just so many things that was just so bizarrely serendipitous. And you realize that, you know, in making a film like this and actually writing about the serendipities of life, because it's something that I have really experienced a lot of. And when you're open to it and you start noticing it and you are less like on your phone and you are more kind of listening, I suppose, you realize that there's connections all over the place and that everything is connected. Or certainly that has been my experience. And so I'll tell you one more story of when we were writing it. I was writing it, and Louise and I, the producer Louise, I took her to see a drag show. And we were talking about magic and went to see this drag show in London, and we were taking a bus home. And I said, I don't know if it should be called magic, you know, because I don't want to center this character. Like, it's really Joe's story, and I don't know that it should be called magic. And just at that moment, a sign that said magic went past the bus. So that shot at the end is based off of real life. And literally, it was one of those moments where I'm not really sure if it should be called magic. And then it was like magic. And I was like, okay, I guess we have our answer. Like, I have no choice.
No, you don't.
You don't have a choice now. It's like the universe said no.
Yeah, they're like, no. This.
No. Trust me.
Trust me.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
What are your hopes for the future of magic, both as a film and conversation starter?
What are my hopes? I just hope that it finds the people that it's supposed to find. You know, like as I said earlier, like when you have the opportunity to write something, I certainly didn't think about this stage of the process before I wrote it. I just wrote it and thought, I'm going to write something that feels as authentic to my experience and my journey as possible, and hope that there's an audience that it resonates with. And if there isn't, that's okay. At least I will have been true to what I needed to write, rather than falling into the trap of thinking about what everyone wants and then trying to people please my way into creating something that will resonate for people and trying to guess and assume what that is. So I just hope it finds the people it's supposed to find, and that it opens conversation and also just honest reflection about our own relationships to tech in general and the impacts of that. Like, one of the blessings of writing and working on the short was the actor that you see briefly at the beginning, who plays the houseless guy, the busker, when he read the script, he sent me an email afterwards and said, after reading the script, I've gone online and had a look because I had no idea what was going on in the Congo. Thank you for that, you know? And that felt like such an affirmation that if it can open like some people that may not be aware of the reality of like the tech industry and where we're sourcing our minerals from, that would be like a massive piece for me, because the genocide that's going on in Congo is often spoken about as like a silent genocide because people don't know much about it, because it serves the big tech businesses and to keep it really secret, because obviously it's fueling their businesses and their profit. So that feels like if it opens some conversations around that, that would be a massive gift. and then also, yeah, just that personal kind of reflection and conversations about it. Because I think, like, as I said to you earlier, like my relationship to my phone it's a constant journey, you know. It's like I have moments where I'm able to like disconnect a bit more and like put it to the side, and then I fall into being so addicted and picking it up every time I'm feeling a bit uncomfy or whatever, and then realizing, oh my god, you're on your phone again doing this thing, and like, why are you doing that? Like, you don't need to be doing that right now. And I think it's so human, and I think it's like it's important to like normalize and like understand that we are all living in this world, and that it's okay, and not to put shame on it, but also to open that conversation and think, if we can intentionally take moments where we do disconnect from the online world or the phone world, and we do like intentionally connect to each other and ourselves and the natural world, I think it can only bring goodness for the future of humanity, you know. And so yeah, if it opens a little bit of reflection on that, that would be awesome. But really, more than anything, I want people to have a good time, and that it finds the audience that like it brings some sense of joy, and that people feel seen through characters. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a hard question, actually. It's like, oh,
yeah.
God. You know, I appreciate it, though. It makes you really reflect on what your hopes are.
We ask the hard questions here at Big Gay Energy.
Okay, we'll shift gears to what I hope is not a hard question. So, what have been some of the most memorable or moving moments of support you've received from fans or collaborators for Magic?
Is it another hard one?
Damn it.
It is, but it's not at the same time. I think I'm just figuring out how I want to answer this, because
Valid.
it has consistently surprised me that people are like wanting to support this project. It's so humbling, and so such an amazing moment to actually finally have it out and people express that it has that it resonated, or that they want to see more of these characters. And what we were talking about earlier with the sort of fandoms colliding, and seeing how lit up people are by that and by this journey, I'm like just bowled over, like so amazed by the support and the reaction, that I feel so lucky. I feel so unbelievably lucky. We did an event in London as part of the fundraising, and I got to meet some switchers and for the first time and witness sort of the fandoms colliding. And that felt like such a special moment, where we were almost all just like putting out this energy of like manifesting the feature, and through community. And that's such a big central theme to the feature too, is like how we can work with like the online communities and the tools that we have through tech in order to like ground that into reality. And so it felt like we were kind of living that, of being sort of in community for the day. And at the very end of the day on the boat, because we ended up going on a boat, like so random, but we ended up going on like a boat party, and I asked everyone to go upstairs onto the top deck right at the end of the event, and we all just like stood and held hands under the like stars.
Aww.
And just like thanked everyone for coming and like everything, and then sort of did a prayer for Magic. And just the energy was so generous, you know, and so like present. And it just felt like a massive big hug of support. And I just, yeah, almost feels like another whimsical dream when you have those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, was that really reality? And in some ways, it feels like only the very beginning of what the adventure that we're about to go on. And I can't believe that already people believe in the project in this way. And in every way that people have expressed that, or people have supported it, or even like the collaborators behind the scenes, like the minute that somebody says that they get like that they understand it, or they reflect back to me some themes or some things that they felt, I'm like, oh, you get that, like, yes, that's exactly what it was. And I'm almost surprised that people understand it in the way that they do, and that they're offering that reflection, because sometimes I don't even realize it until someone else like vocalizes what they've seen, that I'm like, that's exactly what I was going for, and I didn't even realize. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
No, it does.
It's a really trippy experience, but I'm here for it.
That's amazing. Well, speaking of support, our last question for you is, how can we and our audience at home support this project?
Well, thank you for the question. As I mentioned, we are fundraising for the feature. So if you're interested in supporting the development of the feature, you can go to makingmagic.pictures, which is our website. In the coming week, don't know when this is coming out, but we are launching some more information around it, so you can go and check it out. You can spread the word, you can share it with your friends, you can talk about it, and just sort of generate that community support and energy. And if you are able to donate any teeny tiny little thing, it will all be so gratefully received and will go directly towards the making of the feature. We will be launching a fundraiser soon, so keep your eyes out. There's some goodies and things that might be of interest. And yeah, that is pretty much it at this point, you know, just, yeah, spread the word. And if you're able to donate, it would be, so gratefully received.
We will link that in the description of the show. So if you guys want to go down there and just click it and check it out, like, please do so.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, that concludes the questions we have for you. Again, we just want to thank you, Dom, for being here and talking to us and sharing your insight and passion, obviously, for this project. We very much appreciate getting to talk to you and hear from you.
Thank you. And likewise, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so grateful that we were able to do this. And thank you for also bringing your passion and your love for queer media and really kind of advocating the importance of that. It's so wonderful to see that there are people that really, of course, understand and are trying to amplify these messages so that we can have more of it, especially at a time and a climate where there is so much repression and such oppression happening in the world. I think that if we can counteract that with the light, which you really both have brought that today, that is an action that is really needed. So thank you both also.
Likewise, that is the message we need at this dark times, like you said. But
yeah,
you know, so for everyone at home, please check out the link, talk about magic, do everything that you can. And again, thank you, Dom, for being here today. We really appreciate it. So, all right. So we're going to sign off. So until next time, everyone, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And get it up all over the place. Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.